Dawn crept gently across ancient Iberia. Old kingdoms whispered through rugged valleys. Castile watched Aragon with measured caution. Small realms shifted under fading banners. Centuries shaped borders like drifting sand, but destiny quietly prepared its moment. Two monarchs stepped into rising history. Ferdinand carried Aragon's disciplined strength. Isabella embodied Castile's determined resolve. Together they forged one unified Spain. Their union awakened long silent power. Rival flags lowered across contested plains. A single heartbeat moved through Iberia. Unity spread like light after darkness. A new political vision slowly crystallized. Faith soon strengthened this emerging kingdom. The Reconquista neared its final chapter. Granada stood trembling on shifting ground. Catholic banners approached with relentless devotion. Centuries of cultural blending faded away. Granada's surrender reshaped Iberian destiny. The cross replaced a shared legacy. Ferdinand and Isabella embraced strict orthodoxy. Religion became empire's guiding foundation. Every decision carried divine royal purpose, yet unity stirred deeper restless dreams. Courtiers whispered of distant, unknown horizons. Merchants imagined eastern markets overflowing gold. Sailors saw opportunity in endless blue. Europe hungered for wealth beyond borders. Old trade routes favored rival powers. Mediterranean pathways strengthened rising Italians. Spain needed routes shaped by ambition. Maps ended with terrifying blank silence. Curiosity pulled explorers toward uncharted worlds. Then Columbus walked into royal chambers. His ideas sounded impossible yet magnetic. He promised Asia waited westward across oceans. Skepticism challenged his every bold claim. But Isabella listened with patient conviction. Her approval changed global human history. 3 ships sailed into haunting emptiness. Knights tested courage beyond mortal limits. Prayers rose with each crashing wave. Hope fought fear across vast waters. Then land emerged through shimmering horizon. A new world unfolded beneath sunlight. Forests breathed ancient, untouched existence. Cultures thrived unaware of Europe's empires. History turned in that fragile instant. Columbus returned with breathtaking revelations. Stories spread faster than whispered doubt. Spain realized destiny had dramatically expanded. The ocean no longer felt impossible. Ambition now commanded every future voyage. Riches soon flowed toward Spanish ports. Kings imagined influence crossing every ocean. Ships multiplied, carrying dreams and dominance. Cities rose on distant foreign shores. Faith traveled beside every imperial banner. Europe watched Spain reshape global power. An empire awakened from unified beginnings. A journey toward world domination had started. The dawn of empire glowed unmistakably bright. Ancient Mexico breathed beneath rising dawn. Aztec temples shimmered through golden haze. A powerful empire watched shifting horizons. Ritual drums echoed across sacred valleys. Tenochtitlan glowed like a floating dream. But far across the Atlantic world, whispers of opportunity reached restless ears. Hernan Courts prepared for bold destiny. Ambition burned deeper than simple conquest. He sailed seeking fortune, glory, immortality. Waves carried Spanish steel toward Mexico. Fear mixed quietly with reckless hope. His men questioned paths shaping history. They marched believing fate favored courage. Every horizon promised danger and riches. Aztec scouts watched strangers approaching cautiously. Their armor gleamed like unnatural creatures. Horses terrified cities unaccustomed to them. Rumors spread faster than messengers traveled. Godlike figures walked across unfamiliar shores. Courts moved with calculated political instinct. He studied every custom and weakness. Allies were found among oppressed tribes. Old grievances fueled new Spanish strategy. Rival kingdoms guided him toward Tenochtitlan. Montezuma sensed danger beneath calm appearances. Omens troubled priests during nightly rituals. Dreams spoke warnings, wrapped in ancient symbolism. The empire trembled under invisible pressure. Destiny moved faster than cautious diplomacy. Courts entered Tenochtitlan with fragile trust. The city stunned Europeans into reverence. Great causeways stretched across shimmering water. Palaces towered above markets of abundance. The empire's majesty felt almost divine, but diplomacy cracked under mutual suspicion. Fear hardened hearts on both sides. Misunderstandings deepened old cultural differences. Spanish ambition grew increasingly uncompromising. Aztec patience thinned with rising uncertainty. Violence erupted with devastating finality. Streets flooded with chaos and betrayal. Sacred temples burned through night skies. Courts launched siege against indestructible city. Hunger weakened even the strongest warriors. Disease spread silently through suffering households. Smallpox shattered communities without mercy. Population collapsed faster than defenders recovered. An entire empire gasped under catastrophe. Spiritual institutions crumbled alongside political power. The final battle reshaped human history. Tenochtitlan fell after heartbreaking endurance. Courts claimed victory with grave consequences. Aztec civilization entered irreversible transformation. Spanish rule emerged from ashes violently, but conquest came with heavy shadows. Cultures collided in painful sudden fusion. Traditions faded under foreign impositions. Spirits struggled against unfamiliar domination. A world ended as another began. The fall echoed across global memory. Empires realized oceans no longer separated worlds. Spain's power surged with unstoppable momentum. Courts became symbol of ruthless ambition. The Americas stepped into turbulent change. Andes mountains guarded ancient Inca greatness. Sacred peaks pierced clouds like eternal watchmen. Stone roads connected worlds across impossible distances. Empires breathed within valleys shaped by legends. Cusco stood glowing at civilization's center. The Inca realm thrived with unmatched precision. Terraced fields hugged mountains with artistry. Priests read heavens for royal guidance. Communities lived through discipline and devotion. Order defined every heartbeat of empire, but far across uncertain ocean horizons. A man prepared for history's darkest gamble. Francisco Pizarro chased fortune with obsession. Ambition outweighed fear in his heart. He believed destiny favored daring conquerors. His ships reached Peru with trembling hope. Whispers of Inca gold filled restless nights. Mountains seemed alive with ancient warnings. Small armies marched toward unimaginable civilizations. Dreams of treasure pushed doubt aside. The Inca world faced internal fracture. A civil war scarred empire's unity. Brothers fought violently for sacred throne. Atahualpa emerged victorious, but exhausted. The empire's strength weakened beneath triumph. Pizarro studied weaknesses with cold determination. He understood timing shaped every conquest. Diplomacy hid intentions behind polite gestures. Gifts masked sharp ambitions and strategy. Every meeting advanced Spanish hidden plans. Cajamarca became stage for catastrophic collision. Atahualpa met strangers with composed authority. Ceremonial silence carried ancient imperial weight. But tensions simmered beneath ceremonial courtesy. Two worlds stood inches from destruction. Pizarro launched ambush without hesitation. Thunderous weapons shattered peaceful gathering instantly. Horses stormed crowds unfamiliar with cavalry. Fear surged through streets like unleashed wildfire. The emperor fell into Spanish captivity. Atahualpa offered gold for sacred freedom. Rooms filled with treasure beyond imagination. Walls shimmered under mountains of offering. Spain received wealth unmatched in history. Yet promises crumbled despite heavy ransom. Execution transformed empire's spiritual direction forever. Grief spread across valleys like suffocating smoke. Priests questioned omens they once trusted. Warriors felt mountains mourning their king. The empire's heart cracked under devastation. Spanish forces marched with unstoppable momentum. Cities surrendered under fear and confusion. Disease broke resistance faster than armies. Communities collapsed under unfamiliar suffering. Ancient order dissolved into irreversible chaos. Cusco fell after a heartbreaking final struggle. Temples echoed cries of defeated warriors. Sacred fires dimmed across mountain sanctuaries. An entire worldview shifted in silence. The Inca age ended with sorrow. Pizarro claimed victory amid overwhelming ruins. His ambition reshaped continents and centuries. Gold poured into Spain, endless rivers, but legacy carried deep moral darkness. Power demanded price beyond mortal measure. Conquest rewrote destiny of South America. Cultures collided under violent transformation forever. Spiritual traditions struggled through foreign rule. Generations inherited wounds of that moment. History remembered Pizarro with conflicted judgment. Empire building demanded strategy beyond courage. Spain understood conquest required layered planning. Every decision carried consequences across continents. Ambition alone could never defeat nations. Power needed allies, weapons, and circumstance. Spanish leaders studied indigenous rivalries carefully. They saw opportunities hidden with intentions. Old disputes shaped alliances with precision. Rival tribes sought protection against empires. Shared enemies forged unexpected temporary friendships. Alliances opened territories without heavy bloodshed. Local guides explained geography and customs. Paths revealed secrets known only to natives. Food, shelter, and knowledge shaped survival. Spain advanced through combined cultural insight. Weaponry intensified Spain's climbing advantage drastically. Steel swords terrified warriors, using obsidian blades. Shields broke under unfamiliar European weight. Armor deflected strikes, once considered lethal. Gunpowder roared like storms across battlefields. Cannons shattered walls built for tradition. Smoke spread panic through disciplined formations. Thunderous shots echoed across terrified valleys. Horses gave Spaniards unmatched mobility everywhere. Speed transformed battles before strategies formed. Psychology mattered as much as firepower. Indigenous armies misread unfamiliar technologies constantly. Fear weakened resistance before fights began. Confusion grew with each battlefield encounter. Spanish momentum increased with every victory. Yet the greatest force wasn't human. Disease traveled silently beside Spanish ambition. Smallpox arrived unseen across native households. Communities collapsed before weapons reached them. Healers faced sickness they never understood. Epidemics spread faster than marching armies. Villages emptied under overwhelming suffering. Leaders died without organizing defenses. Children lost elders holding ancient wisdom. Entire cultures weakened without single battle. Spanish chroniclers recorded unimaginable devastation. They saw cities fall without resistance. Disease reshaped conquest faster than strategy. It opened doors armies couldn't break. It destroyed hope before wars started. Spain continued expanding through weakened lands. Defense lines faltered under demographic collapse. Allies surrendered under spreading despair. Revolts faded before gathering strength. Power gravitated toward Spanish authority swiftly. Strategy blended human calculation and tragedy. Spain used alliances for political leverage. Weaponry ensured dominance in open warfare. Disease dismantled civilizations from inside. Three forces shaped colonial transformation permanently. Historians still debate moral responsibility today. Was victory earned or tragically granted? Spain built empire through calculated advantage. But consequences scarred continents for centuries. Every triumph carried deeply painful shadows. This strategy defined early Spanish expansion. Its echoes stretched across global history. Alliances, weapons, and disease reshaped humanity. Colonial dominance stood on fragile foundations. A new world emerged through irreversible change. The conquest changed lives beyond imagination. Indigenous worlds felt history bending violently. Generations faced turmoil they never expected. Empires collapsed under forces beyond control. Ancient traditions trembled under foreign arrival. Culture carried memories of countless ancestors. Songs preserved stories of timeless origins. Ceremonies honored gods shaping daily life. Symbols held meaning deeper than language. But change approached faster than preparation. Spanish officials studied local customs cautiously. They judged practices through unfamiliar worldviews. Misunderstanding created tension across every village. Cultural expressions were labeled dangerous beliefs. Traditional rituals slowly faced growing restriction. Temples once filled with sacred energy. Priests guided communities through ancestral laws. Festivals united families with spiritual purpose. But new authorities changed sacred landscapes. Old sanctuaries transformed under forced reordering. Religion arrived with uncompromising direction. Missionaries traveled alongside marching soldiers. Crosses replaced ancient icons across settlements. New prayers echoed through old temples. Spiritual identity shifted under heavy pressure. Conversion became pathway toward survival. Accepting Christianity opened doors for security. Resistance invited punishment, suspicion, or violence. Communities adapted to protect their families. Faith became battlefield of cultural endurance. Still, old traditions survived in shadows. Families whispered rituals during quiet nights. Songs carried hidden meanings across generations. Identity lived beneath surface of change. Heritage resisted silence with quiet resilience. But demographic collapse changed everything rapidly. Diseases devastated populations without immunity. Smallpox spread like uncontrollable wildfire everywhere. Measles and influenza followed with devastation. Entire villages disappeared within single season. Demographic shock weakened political structures instantly. Leadership collapsed before restoring stability. Families lost elders holding ancient knowledge. Children grew without traditional guiding voices. Wisdom scattered faster than stories preserved. Communities shrank at unimaginable speed. Territories emptied under relentless epidemics. Agricultural systems collapsed from labor scarcity. Normal life became nearly impossible everywhere. Survival became central focus for generations. Spanish rule intensified after demographic decline. Empty lands invited rapid colonial expansion. New settlements occupied weakened territories easily. Institutions replaced ancestral governance with bureaucracy. Indigenous authority faded under growing dependency. Economies transformed through exploitative structures. Forced labor disrupted traditional working patterns. New taxes pressured communities into compliance. Overseers controlled harvests and daily responsibilities. Freedom narrowed within colonial boundaries steadily. Families navigated constant emotional dislocation. Memories clashed with changing modern landscapes. Loss shaped rituals more than celebration. Generations carried grief through silent endurance. Identity survived through persistent cultural fragments. The impact echoed far beyond conquest. Cultures transformed under overwhelming historical weight. Religions blended through complicated shared experiences. Demographics reshaped continents for all time. Human stories remain scarred yet resilient. Indigenous legacy still speaks through history. Loss reflects humanity's deepest moral failures. Survival honors strength across countless generations. Their endurance remains history's quiet triumph. Their culture continues despite every hardship. Spain searched continents for unimaginable wealth. Explorers dreamed of cities built from gold. Stories fueled hunger greater than ambition. Treasures became symbols of imperial destiny. Every discovery reshaped Europe's rising expectations. Gold glimmered within rivers and mountains. Jewelry revealed expert craftsmanship across civilizations. Temples stored offerings from countless generations. Spain saw opportunity behind sacred objects. Wealth transformed into a tool for power. Treasure fleets carried fortunes across oceans. Each shipment strengthened Spain's global influence. Coins financed wars, shaping continental politics. Royal courts celebrated vast economic victories. But wealth came through immense human cost. Silver soon surpassed gold in importance. Potosi became heart of Spanish extraction. The mountain stood like an inverted treasury. Miners descended into darkness every sunrise. Millions labored beneath suffocating underground conditions. Harsh tunnels echoed cries of exhaustion. Air thickened with dust and poison. Bodies weakened under brutal endless shifts. Survival depended on impossible daily endurance. Silver flowed while life drained silently. Europe admired Spain's growing financial dominance. Markets changed under abundance of silver. New coins circulated throughout global economies. Trade routes expanded with accelerated intensity. Yet prosperity obscured exploited labor beneath. The encomienda system formalized early exploitation. It promised protection in exchange for labor. Reality twisted into coercion and cruelty. Workers faced heavy demands without recourse. Oppression replaced earlier cooperative structures rapidly. Communities lost land they once governed. Overseers controlled fields and sacred territories. Indigenous autonomy dissolved under foreign hierarchy. Daily life depended on colonial permission. Freedom narrowed with every administrative decree. Missionaries criticized cruelty within encomiendas. Some demanded reforms for a human dignity. Debates reached courts across Spanish kingdoms. Philosophers questioned morality of forced labor. Arguments shaped evolving colonial legal systems, but reforms rarely reached distant settlements. Local power resisted limits on authority. Supervisors exploited gaps within legal enforcement. Communities endured hardship despite royal decrees. Pain persisted through generations of adaptation. The wealth funded Spain's imperial engine. Armadas sailed with confidence and grandeur. Wars expanded influence throughout vast territories. Construction reshaped cities into majestic capitals. Treasury overflowed while colonies suffered quietly. Gold reflected glory, but masked suffering. Silver elevated Spain yet crushed workers. Encomiendas built empire on fragile foundations. Prosperity relied on imbalance and injustice. History remembers cost behind early riches. The extraction transformed global economic systems. Trade linked continents through precious metals. Currency shaped markets across distant nations. Spain dominated commerce with silver's abundance. The world shifted under metallic influence, but beneath wealth lay stories of sacrifice. Communities endured hardship for imperial growth. Cultures adapted to survive colonial structure. Memories preserve truth more than records. Legacy remains complex and morally challenging. This chapter defined early colonial expansion. Its consequences shaped centuries of development. Riches fueled empire, but fractured humanity. The story endures through painful remembered echoes. History cannot forget the price paid. Spain entered history's most dazzling chapter. Wealth poured in like rising tides. Galleons carried treasures across endless seas. Gold glimmered beneath carefully guarded decks. Silver shone brighter than moonlit waves. American mines fueled Europe's growing economies. Caravels linked continents through constant flow. Treasures transformed villages into powerful capitals. Markets surged with newfound global energy. Coins echoed Spain's expanding influence everywhere. Potosi became symbol of unstoppable extraction. Silver mountains supplied empires with lifeblood. Shipments financed armies across European borders. Economies shifted under relentless metallic abundance. Wealth reshaped politics faster than diplomacy. Merchants filled ports with bustling activity. Contracts linked distant kingdoms through commerce. Caravans transported goods across continental pathways. Silk, spices, and metals changed hands. Spain prospered through connections shaping modern trade. Seville became heartbeat of booming commerce. Warehouses overflowed with exotic imported goods. Docks thundered with labor and movement. Treasuries recorded unprecedented financial expansion. Europe watched Spain's dominance with awe. Trade routes expanded across rising oceans. New markets opened throughout distant territories. Merchants built fortunes through bold negotiations. Foreign goods enriched Spain's cultural identity. Cities glowed with unprecedented commercial richness. The crown controlled economic arteries strategically. Royal policies directed treasure toward priorities. Armies marched with well-funded confidence. Colonies strengthened under steady financial backing. Power rested on gold's heavy gleam, but prosperity demanded ever-increasing extraction. Economy drifted toward dependency on treasures. Domestic production decreased across rural provinces. Local industries weakened under imported competition. Wealth complicated stability within national structure. Still, Spain radiated unmatched continental authority. Its economy commanded respect and fear. Treasures shaped empires across shifting frontiers. European powers adjusted strategies around Spain. Influence stretched farther than visible borders. American wealth financed brilliant architectural projects. Cathedrals rose with breathtaking artistic ambition. Palaces expanded through lavish royal spending. Urban landscapes transformed under creative renaissance. Economy fed splendor across entire kingdom, yet imbalance grew beneath golden surface. Inflation eroded value of imported riches. Prices soared beyond manageable expectations everywhere. Common families struggled despite national abundance. Prosperity proved uneven and dangerously fragile. Still, Golden Age progress remained undeniable. Trade routes linked multiple worlds seamlessly. Ships connected cultures through constant motion. Spain pioneered early foundations of globalization. Commerce rewrote humanity's economic future permanently. The boom echoed across entire empire. Opportunities multiplied for wealthy merchant families. Scholars studied shifting global marketplaces carefully. Investors funded ventures across distant continents. Ambition expanded with every arriving fleet. Spain's rise changed destiny of nations. Economic strength supported military and diplomacy. Golden Age influence reached global proportions. Treasures shaped empires more than armies. Wealth became Spain's greatest geopolitical weapon. This economic boom defined early dominance. It fueled culture, politics, and expansion. Treasures guided centuries of powerful decisions. Golden Age prosperity illuminated world history. Its legacy still shapes global financial memory. Spain's Golden Age glowed with creative brilliance. Artistry reached heights never seen before. Brushes painted life across noble canvases. Velázquez captured royalty with unparalleled subtlety. Every stroke revealed both power and vulnerability. Palaces filled with portraits of kings. Eyes followed viewers across ornate frames. Courtly majesty reflected in gilded detail. Faces expressed dignity, ambition, and humanity. Velázquez immortalized empire in vibrant color. El Greco transformed light into spiritual poetry. Churches glowed with his transcendent compositions. Colors stretched skyward like divine inspiration. Figures elongated, reaching beyond earthly limitations. Emotion pulsed through every painted gesture. Sacred themes became portals into heaven. Cathedrals echoed with brushstrokes of devotion. Faith and art merged seamlessly together. Every canvas reflected both human and divine. Spain's churches radiated through centuries of light. Meanwhile, literature flourished alongside visual grandeur. Cervantes wrote stories reshaping imagination itself. Don Quixote walked through Spanish consciousness eternally. Quixotic adventures captured humor, tragedy, and humanity. Readers glimpsed society through reflective satire's mirror. Words became tools for insight and critique. Characters embodied dreams, folly, and ambition. Storytelling blended reality with boundless imagination. The printed page traveled across Europe swiftly. Ideas transformed cultural identity with quiet power. Patrons funded artists and writers generously. Courts valued creativity as political prestige. Nobility displayed wealth through commissioning brilliance. Masterpieces signaled taste, power, and sophistication. Cultural prestige elevated Spain above continental rivals. Art bridged faith, monarchy, and society. Cathedrals, palaces, and salons showcased elegance. Brush, quill, and ink-shaped history. Every creation reflected pride of empire. Legacy endured through centuries of admiration. The Golden Age illuminated Spanish intellect. Innovation thrived alongside disciplined, artistic skill. Each masterpiece reflected social, spiritual, political layers. Cultural output rivaled any European nation. Artists and writers defined identity for generations. Cervantes' quill and painters' brushes intertwined. Imagination became emblem of empire's ambition. Art and literature celebrated human experience universally. Spain's creative brilliance echoed beyond borders. Golden Age culture became historical benchmark forever. Even ordinary life felt aesthetic transformation. Public squares showcased sculpted monuments proudly. Festivals celebrated literature, music, and theatre. Every citizen touched culture's expanding influence. Creativity infused identity into everyday experience. Spain's arts remained unrivaled in Europe. Legacy of Velázquez, El Greco, and Cervantes endured. Painting, writing, and sculpture shaped Golden Age. Civilization recognized empire through artistic expression. Cultural prosperity cemented Spain's historical grandeur. Oceans stretched like endless silver highways. Spain's fleet rose with disciplined strength. Galleons gleamed beneath rising morning sunlight. Sailors trained tirelessly on rolling decks. Cannons thundered as waves crashed relentlessly. Naval power defined empire's global ambitions. Armadas sailed across stormy, unpredictable waters. Ships carried gold, silver, and influence. Flags rippled, signaling authority far away. Spain commanded respect on every ocean. European rivals watched with growing anxiety. The English and Dutch monitored closely. Spain's reach extended across distant continents. Routes connected Americas, Africa, and Asia. Maritime supremacy dictated political and economic power. The Armada moved with precise coordination. Orders passed quickly between tightly knit captains. Discipline ensured survival in turbulent seas. Every voyage balanced danger with opportunity. Navigation tested courage and meticulous skill. Storms challenged even Spain's most seasoned sailors. Waves tossed ships like fragile toys. Seas tested leadership and crew endurance. Yet ambition drove fleets toward distant lands. Victory required bravery and calculated risk. Spain's ports flourished under naval protection. Seville and Cadiz thrived with imported riches. Ships arrived bearing treasures and knowledge. Trade routes expanded under military oversight. Commerce relied on oceanic dominance entirely. Armadas defended colonies from hostile nations. Pirates and rivals threatened fragile supply lines. Naval strategy dictated empire's long-term survival. Ships patrolled strategically to maintain control. Sea power ensured empire's far-reaching influence. Exploration became inseparable from naval capability. New territories mapped with impressive precision. Cartographers charted coasts and hidden harbors. Sailors recorded flora, fauna, and geography. Knowledge fueled expansion and imperial dominance. Logistics ensured fleets moved efficiently everywhere. Supplies, ammunition, and food were meticulously managed. Every detail mattered in long campaigns. Crew survival depended on disciplined provisioning. Naval supremacy demanded relentless attention and planning. The Armada faced storms and unexpected battles. England challenged Spanish maritime confidence repeatedly. Conflict tested strategy, courage, and resources. Ships sank, while legends of valor emerged. Every engagement reshaped perception of Spanish power. Global reach strengthened cultural and religious influence. Missionaries traveled safely with naval protection. Christianity spread alongside gold and silver. Colonies flourished under both faith and force. Spain's oceans carried power across hemispheres. Training programs ensured expertise in navigation. Sailors mastered winds, currents, and stars. Knowledge passed down through generations at sea. Skill ensured survival across unpredictable oceans. Naval tradition became hallmark of Spanish might. By controlling seas, Spain controlled the world. Empires rose and fell according to armada strength. Power radiated from ports to distant territories. Maritime supremacy became symbol of golden age. Legacy endured through tales of dominance and courage. Oceans echoed with Spain's relentless ambition. Ships sailed toward both fortune and destiny. Naval supremacy shaped politics, trade, and culture. Golden Age relied heavily on mastery of seas. Spain's armada became enduring symbol of empire. Faith shaped Spain's identity and destiny. Catholicism guided kings, nobles, and commoners. Church bells echoed across bustling city streets. Sacred rituals marked every moment carefully. Altars glowed with candles and incense smoke. The crown used religion to unify people. Every decree carried divine moral authority. Faith reinforced loyalty to monarchy consistently. Governance intertwined seamlessly with religious guidance. Laws reflected both secular and sacred principles. Priests advised kings on political decisions. Confessors influenced both courts and policy. Catholic teachings justified expansion and conquest. Church sanctioned authority over lands and subjects. Unity depended on shared spiritual framework. Missionaries traveled to distant colonies faithfully. Indigenous populations encountered foreign religious instruction. Conversion was enforced with persistent Spanish zeal. Education blended devotion with civil obedience. Church schools taught language, culture, and faith. Festivals celebrated both sacred and civic occasions. Processions reinforced monarchy's presence among citizens. Art glorified saints and Spanish rulers. Architecture reflected both grandeur and divine order. Churches became centers of cultural consolidation. The Inquisition enforced religious conformity strictly. Heresy faced scrutiny and sometimes harsh punishment. Faith maintained order across diverse populations. Catholicism intertwined with statecraft strategically. Belief unified communities under shared moral code. Icons and relics inspired devotion daily. Altarpieces portrayed rulers with saintly reverence. Symbols connected monarchy with divine favor. Visual culture reinforced obedience and legitimacy. Church imagery guided both heart and mind. Religious observance permeated homes and towns. Masses structured rhythms of ordinary life. Feasts and fasts dictated yearly routines. Spiritual practice influenced behavior and decisions. Faith shaped culture at every level. Catholic unity strengthened Spain internally and externally. Diplomacy carried moral as well as political weight. Allies respected shared religious identity implicitly. Borders secured through belief and governance. Empire consolidated under church-supported authority. Education became pathway for moral indoctrination. Clergy trained administrators for empire's bureaucracy. Schools taught loyalty alongside reading and writing. Knowledge reinforced obedience to king and faith. Religion underpinned every aspect of governance. Cultural cohesion expanded throughout provinces and colonies. Shared beliefs built bridges across regions. Catholicism connected distant communities spiritually. Identity became inseparable from religious devotion. Unity strengthened Spain's power domestically and abroad. Faith inspired both artistry and scholarship. Church patronage elevated painters, writers, and architects. Sacred themes dominated literature and visual arts. Every creative endeavor reflected spiritual priorities. Religion intertwined culture, power, and daily life. Catholicism became symbol of Spain's global influence. Empire projected faith alongside military might. Spiritual authority reinforced political legitimacy consistently. Governance and religion acted as unified strategy. Legacy endured as foundation of Golden Age. Palaces rose like jewels across Spanish landscapes. Stone walls gleamed beneath morning sunlight softly. Gardens sprawled in meticulously ordered beauty. Fountains danced with rhythm and sparkling light. Every corridor reflected wealth and royal taste. Courtiers moved with elegance and careful precision. Velvet robes brushed floors with quiet grace. Jewels glimmered under chandeliers' golden glow. Music floated through halls of power. Every gesture reinforced hierarchy and authority. Festivals celebrated monarchy with grandeur unmatched. Street parades dazzled crowds with color. Dancers twirled beneath banners of loyalty. Fireworks lit sky over admiring citizens. Celebrations reflected wealth, culture, and influence. Feasts overflowed with delicacies from every land. Tables groaned under exotic fruits and meats. Wine poured from polished silver vessels. Chefs displayed skill blending flavor and art. Royal banquets impressed both guests and subjects. Ceremonies reinforced monarchy's sacred and political power. Crowns gleamed as symbols of divine favor. Processions moved through city streets ceremoniously. Every step reflected centuries of tradition. Spectacle communicated authority without spoken words. Art and architecture highlighted regal identity consistently. Paintings immortalized kings, queens, and heirs. Sculptures adorned halls with heroic presence. Tapestries told stories of conquest and glory. Decorations celebrated history, power, and lineage. Intrigue thrived within courtly walls silently. Advisors whispered counsel to ambitious rulers. Alliances formed beneath chandeliers' glittering glow. Every decision balanced loyalty, politics, and reputation. Power was both public and subtly personal. Royal image extended into colonies overseas. Envoys carried portraits to distant lands. Ceremony communicated legitimacy across vast distances. Empire relied on perception as much as might. Grandeur became weapon of subtle authority. Daily routines reflected discipline and spectacle combined. Morning audiences greeted ministers with formality. Evening gatherings blended conversation and performance. Life at court balanced duty and display. Every action contributed to monarchy's enduring image. Festivals honored saints, victories, and heritage. Processions combined faith with civic pride. Music, pageantry, and ritual intertwined seamlessly. Citizens witnessed power expressed as cultural spectacle. Celebration reinforced loyalty to king and faith. Palaces became centers of knowledge and art. Libraries housed wisdom alongside royal archives. Chambers inspired painters, musicians, and writers. Creative talent flourished under aristocratic patronage. Cultural influence radiated from court to nation. Spain's monarchy projected authority through visible splendor. Power was experienced in sight and sound. Every public appearance crafted to inspire awe. Grandeur communicated control without a single word. Courtly life exemplified empire at its pinnacle. Legacy endured through architecture, ritual, and ceremony. Golden halls spoke of ambition and achievement. Festivals, paintings, and gardens preserved history. Monarchy shaped culture as much as politics. Spain's golden age reflected in every elaborate detail. Spain reached across oceans to claim territories. Viceroyalties became pillars of imperial administration. New Spain stretched from deserts to coasts. Peru encompassed mountains, rivers, and valleys. Governors wielded authority on behalf of kings. Cities became centers of colonial governance quickly. Palaces housed viceroys and their trusted advisors. Officials balanced loyalty, efficiency, and royal mandates. Every decree extended Spain's influence farther. Law and order depended on disciplined bureaucracy. Viceroys enforced crown policies decisively and carefully. Tributes flowed from every conquered territory steadily. Indigenous leaders negotiated survival under foreign authority. Colonial administration intertwined with local traditions subtly. Power radiated from offices in distant capitals. Communication stretched across continents with patience. Couriers traveled mountains, rivers, and plains. Orders arrived slowly, yet shaped entire regions. Every decision reflected monarchy's distant presence. Viceroyalties acted as Spain's eyes and hands. Cities like Mexico City grew rapidly. Lima rose majestically in the Peruvian Andes. Colonial architecture reflected European aspirations boldly. Squares, cathedrals, and fortresses projected control. Urban planning reinforced authority and grandeur simultaneously. Viceroys oversaw taxation, justice, and defense. Armies, militia, and forts maintained order constantly. They mediated between settlers and indigenous populations. Every action carried political and moral weight. Spain relied on viceroys for empire stability. New institutions adapted to local conditions carefully. Audiencias served as courts of law efficiently. Councils advised on finances, policies, and disputes. Every office reinforced Spain's hierarchical governance system. Colonial administration blended strategy, diplomacy, and authority. Viceroyalties became hubs of economic extraction. Mining, agriculture, and trade flowed under supervision. Resources fueled Spain's golden age prosperity globally. Officials monitored shipments, wealth, and colonial production. Empire thrived through distant yet structured control. Social and cultural integration required careful management. Viceroys regulated religious practice and education consistently. They shaped towns according to crown expectations. Urban centers reflected imperial ideology and aesthetics. Colonial life revolved around centralized authority. Indigenous populations navigated imposed hierarchies cautiously. Communities adapted under distant oversight carefully. Local elites sometimes collaborated for survival strategically. Resistance emerged quietly, challenging distant rulers subtly. Governance depended on both power and negotiation. Legacy of viceroyalties endured centuries beyond Spain. Administrative systems influenced later independent nations. Colonial frameworks shaped social, economic, and political structures. Maps, cities, and laws preserved imperial memory. Spain's global reach was made tangible permanently. The Church journeyed alongside Spanish colonial expansion. Missionaries crossed mountains, rivers, and vast plains. Faith guided their work across distant lands. They built chapels where none had stood. Candles flickered in newly consecrated spaces. Education became a tool of spiritual guidance. Schools taught reading, writing, and Catholic doctrine. Indigenous children learned foreign language and prayers. Curriculum blended obedience with religious instruction deliberately. Knowledge reinforced authority of both crown and church. Missions spread faith among native communities consistently. Priests traveled tirelessly with devotion and patience. Every village became a potential center of conversion. Baptisms marked entry into Spanish spiritual society. Faith reshaped daily routines and communal rituals. Churches served as cultural and social hubs. Community gatherings revolved around Mass and celebration. Sacred festivals aligned with local calendars creatively. Faith became bridge between rulers and subjects. Devotion intertwined with governance in complex ways. Indigenous practices faced scrutiny and subtle adaptation. Old traditions merged cautiously with Catholic rituals. Syncretism blended beliefs, maintaining hidden ancestral practices. Spiritual transformation occurred gradually across generations. Faith coexisted with lingering indigenous identity quietly. Missionaries documented language, customs, and local histories. Knowledge of native societies guided colonial strategies. Church scholars recorded flora, fauna, and geography. Archives preserved both spiritual and cultural observations. Education and documentation reinforced imperial control subtly. Conversions provided both spiritual and political legitimacy. Faith united settlers, elites, and native converts. Shared religious identity strengthened colonial administration's authority. Church supported crown's decisions across distant territories. Power was expressed through belief and ritual simultaneously. Religious architecture reflected grandeur and imperial presence. Cathedrals soared above towns like beacons. Altars glimmered with gold, silver, and devotion. Art celebrated saints, kings, and divine order. Visual culture reinforced the church's commanding influence. Faith influenced laws, morals, and behavior constantly. Sacraments regulated life from birth to death. Every ceremony marked milestones within the community. Religion shaped economy, culture, and governance deeply. Catholicism became foundation of colonial society sustainably. Missionaries' legacy endured beyond colonial control. Faith survived through generations of native families. Church institutions preserved knowledge, literacy, and art. Education created paths for social and cultural mobility. Catholicism's influence echoed across centuries of history. The Church became indispensable to empire's success. Its role blended devotion, politics, and authority. Missions, schools, and priests reinforced Spanish dominion. Faith intertwined with daily life inseparably. Catholicism left enduring mark on colonial civilization. Spain codified rules to govern distant lands. Laws guided cities, towns, and rural settlements. Every decree sought order and justice carefully. Colonial administration relied on structured legislation. Law shaped society across oceans and continents. The laws of the Indies regulated urban planning. Squares, streets, and plazas followed royal guidelines. Churches occupied central positions in every city. Housing for officials reflected European architectural ideals. Communities grew according to codified Spanish vision. Indigenous peoples' rights were addressed selectively. They were protected in theory by law. Labor obligations were regulated under colonial mandates. Communities retained limited authority over local affairs. Legal framework balanced control and minimal protection. Royal officials enforced rules across vast distances. Audiencias served as courts for disputes carefully. Punishments followed prescribed processes and documentation. Colonial governance blended law, custom, and authority. Order depended on adherence to these regulations. Economy and trade fell under legal oversight. Markets, taxes, and resource extraction were monitored. Merchants, settlers, and viceroys followed codified guidance. Commerce became structured and predictable within colonies. Law connected local practice to distant crown authority. Military presence reinforced legal enforcement consistently. Fortresses guarded settlements and strategic trade routes. Soldiers ensured compliance with royal decrees constantly. Law and power were inseparable across territories. Authority projected both physically and legislatively throughout empire. Urban planning reflected both function and prestige. Public spaces displayed power and cultural identity. Monuments reinforced hierarchy and imperial ideology visually. Architecture communicated rules and societal order explicitly. Law guided both city aesthetics and social structure. Regulations also addressed religious and educational life. Churches and schools were central in communities. Clergy instructed youth under legal mandates carefully. Education reinforced obedience, religion, and loyalty simultaneously. Law shaped moral and social conduct persistently. The Crown monitored compliance across all regions. Reports and audits ensured adherence to statutes. Officials documented both successes and challenges systematically. Regulations adapted slowly to local conditions thoughtfully. Empire relied on law to maintain control effectively. Indigenous rights were limited but recognized formally. Legal protections offered minimal safeguards against abuse. Community leaders mediated between Crown and settlers. Law balanced exploitation with superficial fairness carefully. Justice existed, but power dictated its application. The laws of the Indies left lasting legacy. They influenced post-colonial urban planning internationally. Codified legal frameworks shaped centuries of governance. Spain's meticulous regulations projected civilization and control. Law became cornerstone of colonial administration permanently. Social, economic, and cultural life intertwined legally. Law structured festivals, markets, and land allocation. Communities operated within clearly defined boundaries consistently. Every action reflected compliance or potential punishment. Rules became both guide and instrument of authority. Through these laws, Spain controlled vast empire. Colonial life reflected both order and hierarchy. Legacy endured in architecture, governance, and culture. Indigenous populations remembered laws as both protection and restriction. Laws shaped identity, society, and historical memory. Spain controlled trade across oceans with authority. Monopolies regulated goods from colonies to Europe. Every shipment carried gold, silver, and spices. Merchants obeyed strict regulations enforced by Crown. Trade became instrument of both wealth and power. Treasure fleets sailed with meticulous organization. Ships followed scheduled routes across dangerous waters. Armadas protected riches from pirates and rivals. Navigation required skill, courage, and careful planning. Every voyage reflected empire's global economic ambition. Ports bustled with activity and vigilance constantly. Merchants, sailors, and officials monitored every transaction. Warehouses overflowed with goods from distant continents. Coins, textiles, and luxury items moved efficiently. Commerce linked Europe, Americas, and Asia seamlessly. Fleets transported immense wealth across Atlantic waters. Gold mined in New Spain flowed steadily. Silver from Potosi filled Spanish coffers abundantly. Treasures funded armies, palaces, and overseas expansion. Empire strength rested heavily on these shipments. Trade monopolies ensured Crown retained total control. Private merchants faced strict limitations and oversight. Competition was punished to protect royal interests. Wealth was centralized to strengthen imperial authority. Spain maintained dominance through regulated commerce methodically. Routes were perilous, threatened by storms and piracy. Ships navigated hurricanes, reefs, and treacherous currents. Losses were inevitable despite careful preparation. Every successful fleet reinforced Spain's global reputation. Economic power depended on both risk and discipline. Ports like Seville became hubs of activity. Customs houses regulated taxes on incoming cargo. Officials inspected goods meticulously for compliance. Every coin recorded as part of empire's wealth. Economic flow sustained both crown and military ventures. Colonial economies depended on treasure fleet schedules. Local production adjusted according to transatlantic demand. Silver and gold shaped markets across Europe. Trade monopolies connected continents like invisible threads. Empire projected influence through both wealth and control. Pirates and rival nations constantly challenged Spain. Naval escorts ensured safe passage for fleets. Convoys moved together for protection and efficiency. Armadas became symbols of maritime power permanently. Global commerce relied on Spain's strict organization. Treasures financed Spain's golden age magnificently. Art, architecture, and armies thrived through wealth. Every shipment reinforced monarchy's prestige internationally. Trade monopolies dictated empire's economic and political reach. Spain's influence stretched far beyond local borders. Legacy endured through global economic history. Modern trade networks trace roots to this system. Monopolies and fleets shaped empire's wealth and governance. Spain's treasure fleets remain symbol of maritime dominance. Commerce and power intertwined in Golden Age legacy. Colonial society was structured with rigid hierarchy. Peninsulaires ruled, born in Spain, held authority. Creoles, born in colonies, held wealth and status. Mestizos bridged cultures, blending Spanish and indigenous. Indigenous peoples remained subject to crown's control. Power depended on birth, lineage, and loyalty. Privileges flowed upward, while restrictions pressed downward constantly. Social mobility existed only in rare cases. Every status carried responsibilities and legal obligations. Identity intertwined with ancestry and colonial law. Peninsulaires dominated administration, church, and military. They commanded respect through birth and education. Governance reflected their influence across viceroyalties efficiently. Every decision reinforced their political supremacy clearly. Empire relied on this elite's disciplined leadership. Creoles controlled land, commerce, and colonial wealth. They often resented limitations imposed by peninsulaires. Cultural pride emerged alongside growing political frustration. Education and art reflected their elevated position. Social tensions simmered quietly beneath apparent order. Mestizos navigated both worlds carefully and strategically. They blended customs from European and indigenous heritage. Every choice reflected adaptation for survival continually. Mestizos often became intermediaries in social affairs. Their identity embodied Spain's colonial cultural fusion. Indigenous populations maintained traditions under constrained circumstances. Communities adapted to imposed labor and taxes. Religion, language, and governance influenced daily life. Families preserved culture, despite colonial pressures persistently. Social hierarchy structured both opportunity and limitation. Legal and economic systems reinforced societal stratification. Peninsulaires enjoyed top-tier privileges consistently. Creoles controlled local estates and agricultural production. Mestizos worked skilled trades, bridging multiple communities. Indigenous labor fueled economy under structured regulations. Marriage and alliances reinforced hierarchical boundaries clearly. Family connections maintained social and economic power. Inheritance rules dictated wealth across generations carefully. Social mobility rarely changed rigid class positions. Status shaped identity in every personal interaction. Festivals and ceremonies reflected hierarchical social order. Rituals reinforced crown authority and elite prominence. Public displays highlighted rank, wealth, and prestige. Social codes communicated expected behavior across communities. Every gesture reinforced society's structured dominance. Tensions occasionally erupted into revolt or protest. Disputes highlighted inequalities between groups visibly. Colonial authorities enforced law to maintain control. Conflicts shaped social and political development subtly. Hierarchy remained backbone of empire's governance stability. Education and religion reflected and reinforced rank. Schools and missions supported elite cultural dominance. Literacy and training distinguished upper classes clearly. Religious instruction maintained moral and social order. Hierarchies permeated daily life and belief systems. Colonial society's legacy endured beyond independence. Social structures influenced modern nations' cultural identity. History remembers hierarchy's role in shaping lives. Power, privilege, and labor defined daily experience. Spain's colonial society left enduring societal imprint. Spain faced rivals across European battlefields relentlessly. France challenged borders, claiming disputed territories fiercely. The Netherlands resisted control with determined defiance. England sought dominance on land and sea. War engulfed nations in relentless, shifting campaigns. Alliances shifted with changing political priorities constantly. Kings negotiated, while armies prepared for combat. Diplomacy failed where ambition clashed with greed. Every battle tested strategy, courage, and endurance. Victory came at tremendous human and financial cost. Sieges destroyed cities, leaving ruins in wake. Soldiers marched across plains and fortified walls. Artillery thundered as empires fought for supremacy. Families endured uncertainty as armies occupied towns. Europe became a chessboard of power and influence. Spain defended territories with both force and diplomacy. French armies pressed east with calculated aggression. Dutch rebels challenged authority, seeking independence actively. England's threat loomed with naval strength consistently. Every front demanded resources, planning, and leadership. War fueled ambition, pride, and relentless competition. Generals balanced aggression with strategic prudence cautiously. Political marriages attempted to secure fragile alliances. Treaties temporarily halted conflicts but rarely ended them. Dominance depended on both battlefield success and negotiation. Spain's military stretched across multiple European theaters. Supply lines were long and constantly threatened. Coordination tested logistics, morale, and administrative skill. Armies depended on discipline, experience, and leadership. Every campaign reflected empire's global ambition visibly. Battles reshaped borders and altered political maps. Territorial control shifted after decisive confrontations. Cities rose and fell under shifting authority. Nations adapted to losses, forging new strategies. Wars became defining chapters of European power struggle. Civilians endured occupation, famine, and destruction repeatedly. Towns were fortified to withstand artillery and siege. Economic stability suffered under constant military pressure. Trade and agriculture faltered across contested regions. Societies endured hardship amid relentless imperial ambition. Spain's kings commanded armies while balancing governance. Royal strategy shaped military priorities across continents. Diplomacy sought peace where possible, often temporarily. Ambition fueled conflicts that spanned decades relentlessly. European dominance was never achieved without persistent struggle. Legacy of these wars influenced later centuries heavily. Borders, treaties, and power balances shifted permanently. Military innovation and strategy evolved through constant conflict. Spain's rivals learned and adapted to imperial methods. Europe's political landscape bore scars of unending rivalry. Even victories came with hidden costs and consequences. Every battle exacted tribute from people and treasury. Leadership was measured in victories and lasting impact. Wars defined Spain's reputation across European courts. Conflict became inseparable from empire's historical identity. Spain's armada set sail with daunting ambition. Galleons bristled with cannons, flags, and sailors. Waves crashed against massive wooden hulls relentlessly. Crew prepared for battle across stormy seas. England awaited with smaller, faster ships strategically. Tactics relied on mobility, wind, and cunning. Armada faced fierce storms and unpredictable weather. Ships scattered under powerful gales and tides. Chaos tested both courage and leadership continuously. Cannons roared as fleets clashed in turmoil. Smoke obscured horizon, fire lit trembling waves. Every shot tested precision, strength, and resolve. Sailors fought desperately amid splintered decks. The ocean became battlefield, judge, and executioner. English strategy exploited Armada's vulnerabilities carefully. Fire ships sent panic through tightly packed vessels. Chaos compounded by poor coordination among leaders. Supply shortages weakened morale across Spanish fleet. Every maneuver determined survival or catastrophic defeat. Storms battered fleets, scattering ships far and wide. Losses mounted as vessels foundered against reefs. Navigation became impossible in darkness and relentless waves. Armada struggled to regroup after every disaster. Nature proved as formidable as any enemy fleet. Spain's defeat reshaped European naval power forever. England celebrated victory with confidence and pride. Naval dominance shifted across Atlantic and European waters. Spanish dreams of invasion were dashed decisively. Armada's failure became a symbol of hubris and caution. Survivors returned home battered and humiliated profoundly. Stories spread of courage, disaster, and miscalculation. Lessons learned informed strategy for decades ahead. Tactics evolved under scrutiny of historians and admirals. Sea power remained essential for global empire control. Armada's loss weakened Spain's political and financial position. Fleet required enormous resources, now mostly lost. Rebuilding demanded decades of investment and planning. Rival nations capitalized on diminished Spanish influence. Failure reshaped ambitions across Europe dramatically. Despite defeat, Spain retained colonies overseas determinedly. Empire endured on land, while navy struggled. Legacy of Armada marked Golden Age with humility. Naval battles proved unpredictable despite preparation meticulously. Ocean's power reminded rulers of human limitation. Armada's story became legend of courage and hubris. Every sailor's tale reflected endurance against overwhelming odds. History remembered ambition, disaster, and strategic misjudgment. Spain's naval supremacy was challenged and re-evaluated. The Armada's fate echoed through centuries of maritime lore. Caribbean waters teemed with danger and opportunity. Pirates hunted treasure fleets across open seas. Ships bristled with cannons, sails, and courage. Privateers sailed under letters of royal authorization. Lawless waters challenged Spain's colonial wealth relentlessly. Gold and silver fleets became tempting targets constantly. Hidden coves offered shelter for cunning marauders. Night attacks struck without warning or mercy. Sailors faced fear, alongside hunger and fatigue. Every voyage balanced wealth against mortal danger. Pirates came from England, France, and beyond. Rival nations used privateers to weaken Spain. Raids disrupted trade and threatened imperial control. Caribbean became a contested, chaotic maritime arena. Sea power was tested against cunning and speed. Fortified ports tried to repel relentless attacks. Cannons lined harbors to defend precious cargo. Guards patrolled relentlessly along coastal fortresses. Every merchant ship sailed under constant vigilance. Security depended on coordination and naval intelligence. Famous captains became legends of both fear and admiration. Their names spread across ports and taverns globally. Privateering blurred lines between legality and piracy. Government-sanctioned raids for profit and political leverage. Adventure and danger drew many to risky waters. Weather compounded dangers for sailors at sea. Storms scattered ships and destroyed fragile vessels. Every storm tested courage and nautical skill. Navigation errors led to shipwrecks along reefs. Nature became ally or adversary unpredictably. Spain adapted with convoys and armed escorts. Treasure fleets moved strategically to avoid marauders. Coordination reduced losses, but could not eliminate threats. Every voyage demanded planning, courage, and vigilance. Empire relied on sea power and quick thinking. Pirate attacks shaped colonial policies and defenses. Fortifications were strengthened along islands and coasts. Trade routes were mapped to avoid ambushes. Local militias assisted naval patrols and escorts. Security and economy depended on maritime strategy continuously. Legends grew as tales of treasure and battle. Sailors recounted daring escapes and fierce combats. Privateers' cunning became legendary across nations. Romance and danger intertwined with Caribbean waters. Every story echoed empire's vulnerability and ambition. Spain's dominance was challenged, but not fully broken. Trade continued despite constant maritime harassment. Lessons learned strengthened naval planning and defense. Pirates remained a persistent threat for decades. Caribbean waters became emblematic of risk and reward. Legacy of piracy shaped colonial life and law. Fortresses, convoy systems, and maritime law endured. Privateering influenced strategy, economy, and naval tradition. Empire adapted to unpredictable threats with resilience. Caribbean piracy left enduring mark on history. Colonial subjects occasionally resisted Spanish imperial authority. Indigenous communities challenged forced labor and tribute demands. Peasants and settlers protested taxation and harsh rule. Uprisings flared across remote towns and regions. Every rebellion tested Spain's control and patience. Viceroys struggled to enforce distant royal decrees. Communication delays hampered swift military or political response. Local leaders sometimes negotiated peace cautiously and strategically. Authority depended on both force and diplomacy consistently. Empire faced resistance from multiple directions simultaneously. Rebellions varied in scale and intensity dramatically. Some were brief, quelled with minimal casualties. Others became prolonged, violent, and destructive conflicts. Colonial administration relied on loyal militias for suppression. Every uprising left lasting scars on communities. Religion sometimes mitigated tension or fueled unrest. Missionaries mediated disputes while enforcing spiritual obedience. Faith offered comfort or became tool of control. Cultural identity influenced participation in resistance quietly. Loyalty and rebellion coexisted across complex societies simultaneously. Spain dispatched troops to distant troubled regions. Armies marched across mountains, forests, and plains. Every campaign tested logistics, morale, and leadership. Violence reinforced authority, but strained local resources severely. Suppressing revolt required careful balance of punishment and mercy. Colonial elites often resisted reforms or crown mandates. Tensions emerged between Creoles, Peninsulares, and indigenous populations. Social hierarchies influenced who rebelled and who complied. Strategic alliances helped Spain maintain tenuous control. Politics, power, and loyalty shaped rebellion outcomes. Urban centers occasionally became hotbeds of unrest. Protests and riots disrupted trade and governance. Authorities responded with strict policing and military presence. Every action reinforced or weakened imperial influence substantially. Civil order depended on vigilance and rapid response. Long-term consequences shaped colonial administration and policy. Spain adjusted laws to prevent future uprisings cautiously. Surveillance, taxation, and enforcement intensified after conflicts. Resistance became lessening governing distant territories wisely. Empire endured through adaptation, repression, and negotiation carefully. Uprisings highlighted fragility of even powerful empires. Remote colonies could challenge authority effectively sometimes. Spain relied on both fear and strategic concessions. Control required constant vigilance and calculated management. Internal rebellion remained persistent threats throughout empire's history. Legacies of uprisings influenced independence movements eventually. Memory of resistance inspired future generations steadily. Colonial subjects remembered both oppression and courage vividly. Spain's struggle shaped narrative of colonial governance. Internal revolt marked complex relationship between power and people. Wars drained Spain's treasury across decades relentlessly. Every campaign required gold, silver, and manpower. Armies marched while coffers emptied steadily over time. Continuous conflict fueled inflation across colonies and homeland. Every coin spent reflected ambition and imperial pressure. Rising prices affected citizens across towns and cities. Food, goods, and wages soared unpredictably quickly. Merchants struggled to maintain supply and trade stability. Urban populations faced hardship amid constant economic strain. Economy became intertwined with military expenditures heavily. Colonial wealth flowed to sustain European ambitions. Silver and gold financed wars on distant fronts. Treasure fleets carried both riches and financial burden. Costs exceeded income despite enormous colonial extraction. Empire relied on overseas resources to balance economy. Debt mounted as crown borrowed from financiers. Interest consumed larger share of royal income. Loans tied Spain to European banking networks heavily. Financial strain limited flexibility for political decisions. Every choice reflected tension between ambition and solvency. Inflation eroded purchasing power among common people. Price of bread, meat, and goods rose sharply. Wages lagged behind rising cost of living. Economic pressure fueled unrest and dissatisfaction quietly. Citizens felt empire's wealth yet faced hardship directly. Maintenance of fleets and armies drained royal coffers. Ships required timber, sails, cannons, and skilled sailors. Soldiers needed food, pay, and constant supply. Continuous warfare strained logistics and imperial management. Military ambition demanded resources beyond sustainable levels. Spain's allies and enemies monitored fiscal weakness carefully. Financial vulnerability affected diplomacy and international perception. Rivals exploited Spain's economic overextension strategically. Empire remained formidable but financially stretched thinly. Economic health dictated both political and military strength. Debasement of currency worsened inflation and instability. Coinage lost value as demand exceeded supply. Merchants and peasants felt pinch across regions. Trade suffered from fluctuating prices and uncertainty. Economic consequences echoed across Europe and colonies persistently. Long-term effects reshaped Spain's global position gradually. Decline in wealth influenced military, culture, and influence. Empire's grand ambitions strained practical financial realities. Debt, inflation, and expenses constrained imperial policy. Spain learned limits of wealth and power painfully. Despite financial strain, Spain projected power abroad impressively. Royal image remained grand through expenditure and spectacle. Every coin spent reinforced prestige, sometimes unsustainably. Empire balanced image, ambition, and economic reality. Golden Age left legacy of wealth and financial caution. Spain celebrated power through art and literature. Palaces reflected grandeur, wealth, and royal authority. Painters captured monarchs, battles, and divine scenes. Velázquez and El Greco immortalized Spanish society vividly. Architecture symbolized empire, faith, and cultural achievement. Cathedrals soared, adorned with gilded altars and sculptures. Public squares became centers of civic pride. Monuments celebrated victories, lineage, and religious devotion. Every brushstroke reflected ambition and imperial identity. Literature thrived, exploring honor, religion, and human nature. Poets and playwrights wrote for both elite and people. Cervantes crafted stories that echoed across centuries. The Golden Age reflected brilliance and cultural expansion. Books and manuscripts preserved ideas for future generations. Imperial pride fueled creative expression across disciplines. Urban centers displayed wealth through elaborate architecture consistently. Bridges, aqueducts, and palaces shaped civic identity. Every design reinforced social hierarchy and power visually. Fortifications combined functionality with aesthetic grandeur deliberately. Art and infrastructure symbolized Spain's enduring influence. Court life inspired artists and architects continuously. Commissions from royalty ensured innovation and elegance flourished. Every creation reflected authority, taste, and ambition. Cultural achievements extended beyond Europe into colonies. Empire projected prestige through material and intellectual expression. Artistic patronage encouraged experimentation and mastery among creators. Schools of painting, sculpture, and design flourished extensively. Techniques and styles spread across cities and regions. Masterpieces captured history, politics, and spirituality vividly. Spain became a beacon of cultural accomplishment globally. Festivals, performances, and public celebrations displayed artistic skill. Music, dance, and theatre celebrated imperial identity. Cultural events reinforced loyalty and societal hierarchy continuously. Spectacle became instrument of both pride and power. Art shaped perception of empire for subjects and visitors. Legacy of literature, painting, and architecture endured. Influence spread across Europe and Spanish colonies permanently. Golden Age left mark on global culture unmistakably. Art and knowledge became tools of authority subtly. Spain's achievements echoed ambition, faith, and creativity profoundly. Spain's explorers sailed into unknown, distant waters. Maps were drawn with meticulous care and precision. New continents, rivers, and coasts were documented clearly. Cartographers recorded mountains, islands, and forests accurately. Every voyage expanded understanding of the world significantly. Botanists collected plants, seeds, and exotic specimens. Flora from Americas enriched European gardens and knowledge. Herbals documented medicinal and culinary properties carefully. Scientific curiosity drove observation, recording, and experimentation systematically. Knowledge spread across libraries, courts, and universities consistently. Navigators relied on stars, compasses, and experience. Longitude and latitude became essential for accurate mapping. Ships traced coastlines while facing storms and hazards. Every discovery was recorded in journals and charts. Exploration combined courage, skill, and relentless curiosity continuously. Natural history expanded with fauna and mineral discoveries. Animals, rocks, and landscapes were observed and catalogued. Scientific illustrations captured color, shape, and scale vividly. Collectors shared specimens with scholars across European networks. Empire became a hub for accumulating global knowledge systematically. Explorers' journals preserved insights about indigenous cultures carefully. Languages, customs, and traditions were recorded with respect. Ethnography accompanied scientific and geographical observations closely. Understanding of new lands shaped trade and diplomacy strategically. Exploration connected distant worlds intellectually and practically simultaneously. Astronomy and navigation advanced through practical necessity constantly. Instruments like astrolabes guided sailors across oceans. Every calculation influenced routes, speed, and safety critically. Celestial observation became essential to imperial expansion systematically. Knowledge was power for Spain's ambitious global empire. Botanical gardens and scientific institutions flourished at home. Seeds and specimens were cultivated for research and display. Universities studied natural philosophy, anatomy, and geography extensively. Scholarship connected empire, colonies, and Europe effectively. Scientific achievement reflected curiosity, prestige, and imperial authority clearly. Legacy of mapping and discovery endured beyond Spain. Modern cartography owes roots to early Spanish explorations. Botanical, geographical, and cultural knowledge shaped future science. Empire's thirst for understanding drove discovery and documentation. Exploration left enduring mark on global knowledge permanently. Universities rose across Spain and colonial lands. Scholars taught law, theology, and philosophy carefully. Students gathered from cities, towns, and villages. Learning became pathway to status and influence gradually. Libraries housed manuscripts, scrolls, and rare books meticulously. Colonial universities mirrored European educational traditions precisely. Curriculum blended classical knowledge with practical skills thoughtfully. Mathematics, astronomy, and navigation were taught extensively. Medicine advanced through study and observation carefully. Knowledge spread along empire through scholars and correspondence. Centers of learning fostered debate, creativity, and thought. Professors guided students in critical analysis consistently. Education reinforced loyalty to Crown and Catholic faith. Scholars documented new discoveries from distant colonies. Academia became bridge between old and new worlds. Students learned languages, culture, and governance systematically. Diplomacy, rhetoric, and ethics were emphasized thoroughly. Every lesson prepared leaders for imperial administration. Training reinforced social hierarchy and societal expectations deliberately. Knowledge became both tool and symbol of power. Scientific study thrived in universities and laboratories. Botanical, geographic, and astronomical research advanced steadily. Instruments and observation refined empirical understanding continuously. Education connected colonies to Spain intellectually and practically. Scholarship ensured empire's longevity through shared knowledge. Art, literature, and philosophy were cultivated widely. Writings reflected culture, religion, and societal ideals faithfully. Centers encouraged creativity alongside structured learning rigorously. Students produced works for courts, churches, and cities. Universities became incubators of both knowledge and prestige. Colonial campuses integrated indigenous knowledge carefully and selectively. Native techniques, medicine, and agriculture were studied respectfully. Learning was exchanged between European and local traditions. Empires relied on education for administration and progress. Universities linked empire culturally, scientifically, and politically seamlessly. Legacy of these centers endured across generations effectively. Graduates influenced law, religion, and cultural development permanently. Education strengthened imperial identity and administrative efficiency constantly. Knowledge became foundation for Spain's global influence systematically. Universities reflected ambition, intellect, and enduring vision clearly. Spanish and indigenous cultures merged across colonies. Music reflected both European and native traditions beautifully. Instruments blended old and new sounds harmoniously. Dances combined rhythm, movement, and ceremonial symbolism deliberately. Art depicted saints alongside native gods and rituals. Architecture incorporated European style with local craftsmanship precisely. Churches featured carved wood and colorful indigenous motifs. Murals illustrated fusion of faith, culture, and identity. Every stroke represented convergence of two worlds vividly. Colonial cities became living museums of blended culture. Musicians performed in plazas, churches, and courts equally. Songs mixed languages, harmonies, and storytelling techniques creatively. Festivals displayed combined attire, music, and ceremonial dance. Cultural exchange enriched both colonizers and indigenous people. Artistic fusion reflected empire's power and cultural diversity. European techniques enhanced native craftsmanship in pottery, weaving, painting. Indigenous materials created unique, hybrid artistic forms beautifully. Every creation balanced tradition with innovation thoughtfully. Cultural dialogue occurred through everyday life and ceremonies. Identity evolved through interaction, adaptation, and creativity continuously. Art and music preserved memory of historical blending. Religious festivals integrated local customs and European rites. Performance and visual arts celebrated convergence of communities. Every generation contributed to evolving cultural expression organically. Blended culture became hallmark of Spanish colonial identity. Colonial elites and communities supported artistic experimentation consistently. Royal patronage encouraged fusion of styles intentionally. Local artisans innovated while following European patterns carefully. Cultural hybridity expressed through symbolism, color, and music. Empire projected prestige through both culture and creativity. Legacy endured beyond colonial period and Spanish rule. Modern Latin American art reflects early cultural fusion. Music, dance, and visual arts carry ancestral memory. Blended traditions shaped identity across centuries meaningfully. Spain's colonial influence echoed through artistic heritage globally. Spanish language spread across continents through conquest. Colonies adopted speech, customs, and written communication. Schools taught reading, writing, and grammar consistently. Churches promoted literacy alongside religious instruction carefully. Every letter, book, and document reinforced language authority. Indigenous populations learned Spanish for trade and governance. Language became tool for administration and control efficiently. Colonial bureaucracy relied on written Spanish extensively. Official records documented laws, taxes, and decrees meticulously. Communication unified empire across vast, distant territories. Spanish influenced local languages through words and expressions. Vocabulary emerged, creating hybrid dialects over centuries. Every region adapted language to local culture subtly. Oral storytelling preserved native traditions within Spanish frameworks. Language became both bridge and instrument of assimilation. Education reinforced Spanish in schools, missions, and courts. Children learned language alongside religion and moral values. Literacy empowered elites, while controlling broader populations carefully. Colonial administration depended on shared linguistic understanding consistently. Empire projected authority through words, education, and writing. Trade, religion, and culture spread Spanish globally efficiently. Missionaries carried language alongside faith to new lands. Commerce required common language between Europe and colonies. Every document ensured governance and cultural cohesion steadily. Language strengthened identity of Spain's global colonial influence. Literature, poetry, and correspondence thrived in Spanish consistently. Writers chronicled history, culture, and exploration extensively. Colonial voices recorded society, conflict, and adaptation carefully. Books and manuscripts traveled across oceans and generations. Spanish became medium of intellectual and artistic expression. Today, Spanish remains spoken across continents worldwide. Legacy endures in Americas, Europe, and Asia. Language connects people, culture, and historical memory globally. Colonial expansion transformed a regional tongue into global. Spanish reflects power, history, and enduring human connection. Spain ruled territories across oceans and continents. Viceroys struggled to enforce Crown's distant commands. Communication delays hampered swift decision-making consistently. Governance required local leaders, officials, and oversight carefully. Empire expanded faster than administration could sustain effectively. Colonial officials faced challenges in remote regions. Distance made enforcement, taxation, and justice difficult. Every colony required resources, troops, and coordination. Control weakened when local conflicts escalated rapidly. Spain's authority stretched across vast, fragile networks. Administrative complexity grew with each new colony acquired. Overlapping jurisdictions created confusion and inefficiency continually. Officials often acted independently, ignoring distant directives. Local problems demanded attention from limited resources constantly. Overextension undermined empire's capacity to respond quickly. Military protection was insufficient across scattered territories. Pirates, rivals, and indigenous resistance threatened control. Armadas and garrisons were stretched dangerously thinly. Every distant post required men, supplies, and vigilance. Empire relied on communication and trust, often precariously. Overextension increased costs for administration and defense. Revenue had to cover governors, soldiers, and infrastructure. Every colony demanded both financial and human resources. Crown struggled to balance ambition with sustainable governance. Expansion became unsustainable despite Spain's imperial might. Distant colonies developed unique needs and identities independently. Local populations resisted policies, taxes, and labor demands. Autonomy sometimes grew despite royal oversight attempts persistently. Managing diverse cultures challenged consistent imperial authority. Overextension contributed to tension, inefficiency, and unrest gradually. Legacies of overextension influenced future decline permanently. Empire size exceeded administrative and logistical capabilities clearly. Lessons showed limits of ambition versus practical management. Control required adaptation, delegation, and compromise constantly. Spain learned hard consequences of governing far-flung territories. Spain relied heavily on silver from colonies. Inflation soared as currency lost much value. Costly wars drained treasury across decades relentlessly. Every campaign required funding, ships, and soldiers consistently. Revenue from colonies could not meet expenses adequately. Rising prices affected common people harshly and directly. Food, goods, and wages became increasingly unaffordable rapidly. Merchants struggled to balance trade, supply, and demand. Economic instability spread across cities, towns, and regions. Empires' wealth failed to sustain global ambitions continuously. Dependence on American silver created fragile financial system. Fluctuations in supply caused sudden economic crises repeatedly. Debts mounted as Crown borrowed from European bankers. Interest consumed growing portion of imperial treasury relentlessly. Silver wealth fueled ambition, but created long-term vulnerability. Military expenditure dominated budgets and limited investment elsewhere. Armadas, armies, and fortifications required constant funding consistently. Wars against rivals further strained economic capacity severely. Every coin spent reflected empire's power and cost. Economic troubles weakened Spain's global position gradually. Inflation reduced purchasing power of ordinary citizens. Cost of living rose faster than wages steadily. Trade suffered due to unstable currency and taxation. Colonial revenue failed to compensate for military spending. Financial strain undermined authority and societal stability slowly. Economic mismanagement contributed to long-term decline inevitably. Crown struggled to balance ambition with financial reality. Short-term wealth masked structural weaknesses across empire effectively. Empire relied on precious metals instead of productive economy. Lessons showed limits of silver-based imperial power clearly. Despite wealth, empire faced chronic economic vulnerability. Wars, debt, and inflation eroded both confidence and resources. Rival nations exploited Spain's fiscal weaknesses strategically. Economic troubles shaped decline, influencing policy and governance. Legacy revealed dangers of over-reliance on colonial treasure. Spain faced growing threats from rising European rivals. England challenged dominance across oceans and colonies aggressively. France expanded influence in Europe and Caribbean territories. The Netherlands resisted Spanish control with fierce determination. Rival empires competed for trade, land, and power. Naval conflicts became central to imperial rivalry consistently. Armadas clashed while storms tested fleet entrance repeatedly. Every battle reshaped balance of power carefully and strategically. Colonial expansion increased tensions between competing empires constantly. Spain struggled to maintain supremacy across multiple fronts. Economic competition fueled conflicts and diplomatic tensions extensively. Rival nations targeted trade routes and wealth persistently. Privateers disrupted fleets, challenging Spain's maritime authority continuously. Every lost ship, treasure weakened imperial prestige gradually. Empire relied on resources, while rivals exploited weaknesses expertly. Political alliances shifted as empires jockeyed for advantage. Marriage, treaty, and war influenced territorial claims strategically. Spain faced threats, both at sea and land simultaneously. Military overstretch limited ability to respond effectively consistently. Rivalries exposed vulnerabilities in governance and military planning. Colonial territories became battlegrounds for European ambitions constantly. New settlements competed for resources, ports, and influence. Indigenous populations were drawn into larger imperial conflicts. Every confrontation reflected global struggle for power and wealth. Spain's dominance was increasingly challenged by ambitious competitors. Rival empires advanced technology, navigation, and strategy rapidly. Naval innovation and military reform enhanced their capabilities. Spain's methods were countered with speed and ingenuity. Every encounter tested leadership, courage, and tactical skill. European competition accelerated empire's decline and overextension gradually. Legacy of these rivalries shaped global power balance. Borders, colonies, and trade networks shifted permanently over time. Spain's dominance waned as rivals gained strength consistently. Lessons revealed limits of ambition and overreach clearly. The rise of rivals heralded a new world order. Spain's monarchy faced crises across generations repeatedly. Kings died without heirs or left contested succession. Disputes over crowns weakened authority and stability immediately. Noble factions maneuvered to influence royal decisions carefully. Every succession crisis threatened internal cohesion and power. Dynastic marriages shaped alliances and political landscape strategically. Mistakes in choosing heirs caused long-term instability gradually. Rival claimants challenged legitimacy, creating tension continuously. Spain's leadership struggled to maintain order and respect. Succession issues undermined confidence at home and abroad. Weak rulers relied on advisors and ministers extensively. Court politics influenced decisions, sometimes against imperial interest. Factionalism limited ability to respond to challenges effectively. Dynastic uncertainty distracted leaders from military and colonial concerns. Empire strength was compromised by internal political struggles. Foreign powers exploited succession disputes cleverly and opportunistically. Alliances shifted depending on heirs' legitimacy and influence. Wars were sometimes fought over claims to the throne. Every crisis affected policy, finance, and military readiness. Dynastic instability compounded challenges. Spain's reputation suffered across Europe due to crises. Governance weakened as leadership credibility declined steadily. Colonies sensed uncertainty, occasionally resisting distant authority. Every region experienced effects of disputed succession directly. Empire's cohesion depended on capable and uncontested rulers consistently. Long-term consequences influenced Spain's decline and global position. Leadership struggles eroded ability to manage finances effectively. Military campaigns suffered from lack of decisive command. Dynastic problems highlighted limits of monarchy and governance clearly. History recorded succession crises as turning points for empire. Lessons from dynastic instability shaped future political thought. Europe observed Spain's failures in continuity and power carefully. Crown's legitimacy proved essential for both domestic and foreign policy. Dynastic crises reinforced vulnerability of even mighty empires. Spain's struggles reflected human limits within imperial ambition. Spain faced unrest both in cities and colonies. Peasants protested taxes, high prices, and harsh laws. Workers struggled under inflation and economic instability daily. Colonial populations resisted forced labor and tribute demands. Every disturbance reflected frustration with imperial authority clearly. Urban riots erupted over food shortages and corruption. Merchants and craftsmen demanded fair treatment and protection. Crowds gathered in plazas, voicing grievances loudly and persistently. Authorities responded with soldiers, fines, and imprisonment cautiously. Social tension simmered across both homeland and colonies. Indigenous peoples rebelled against cultural and labor imposition. Local leaders coordinated resistance against colonial administrators carefully. Every uprising tested Spain's capacity to respond effectively. Suppression required troops, negotiation, and calculated strategy constantly. Empire faced simultaneous pressure from multiple, diverse populations. Religious institutions mediated conflicts or reinforced compliance effectively. Churches promoted obedience while attempting to calm unrest steadily. Faith sometimes prevented rebellion, sometimes fueled resistance directly. Missionaries and clergy influenced both loyalty and dissent subtly. Cultural control intertwined with political and economic authority consistently. Colonial elites occasionally supported revolts against crown policies. Factionalism within colonies intensified social and political tension. Every challenge revealed cracks in administration and control clearly. Spain relied on local alliances to maintain governance temporarily. Authority was fragile when facing widespread collective dissatisfaction. Long-term consequences shaped revolutionary movements in future centuries. Memory of oppression inspired independence and national identity gradually. Lessons learned influenced governance, taxation, and social policy. Empire's decline accelerated as unrest spread steadily and widely. Social tension became emblematic of Spain's fading power. Legacy of unrest remained in cultural memory persistently. Stories of revolt, courage, and survival endured strongly. Ideas of liberty spread from Europe rapidly. Enlightenment inspired thoughts of equality and justice. Colonial subjects questioned monarchy, hierarchy, and authority consistently. Small uprisings tested Spanish control across territories frequently. Every rebellion reflected desire for freedom and change clearly. Creoles and intellectuals debated rights and governance openly. Pamphlets, newspapers, and letters spread revolutionary ideas widely. Philosophy fueled courage among leaders and common people, inspired by France and United States revolutions strongly. Dreams of independence grew steadily across Latin America. Rural populations occasionally resisted forced labor and taxation. Indigenous communities sought autonomy and preservation of culture. Slave uprisings challenged authority, adding pressure to empire. Every act of resistance undermined Spanish colonial power gradually. Ideas of justice motivated people to organize collectively consistently. Secret societies and revolutionary cells formed discreetly and strategically. Planning, communication, and coordination grew despite risk of repression. Leaders inspired hope while facing severe consequences regularly. Every movement spread ideas faster than Crown could control. Rebellion became both intellectual and practical pursuit simultaneously. Economic hardship amplified desire for political and social change. Trade restrictions, taxes, and wealth extraction caused frustration. Colonial elites feared losing power, but desired reform cautiously. Grassroots movements mixed with elite planning across regions. Early rebellions foreshadowed broader wars for independence inevitably. Legacy of these early uprisings influenced future generations directly. Ideas planted seeds for liberation across entire continents. Spain faced challenge to legitimacy and control increasingly. Revolutionary spirit became unstoppable force over time gradually. History remembers courage, ideals, and early sacrifices vividly. Simon Bolivar dreamed of a united continent. He led armies across mountains, rivers, and plains. Bolivar inspired people with vision and courage continually. José de San Martin liberated lands in southern regions. Both men coordinated campaigns with strategy and persistence effectively. Other leaders emerged in Venezuela, Colombia, and Argentina. They organized militias and rallied citizens to revolt. Leadership required bravery, diplomacy, and tactical brilliance constantly. Every campaign tested endurance, morale, and strategic planning. Revolutionary generals faced harsh climates and logistical challenges repeatedly. Bolivar's vision sought unity, despite diverse cultures. San Martin prioritized liberation through disciplined, well-planned movements. Their actions combined military skill with inspirational leadership. Leaders balanced diplomacy, alliances, and battlefield decisions carefully. Colonial populations relied on their guidance and inspiration directly. Women, intellectuals, and local leaders supported campaigns courageously. Revolution became a collective struggle for liberty gradually. Every leader navigated complex political, social, and cultural landscapes. Generals maintained morale while motivating both troops and civilians. Leadership forged identity, purpose, and revolutionary momentum consistently. Battles were fought across plains, deserts, and rivers. Tactics involved surprise attacks, careful positioning, and coordination. Victory required courage, skill, and sometimes sheer luck. Every triumph reinforced hope and belief in independence. Leaders became symbols of freedom and revolutionary ideals permanently. Legacy of these leaders inspired nations for generations. Monuments, writings, and stories preserve memory of their struggle. Bolivar and San Martin shaped political, cultural, and social landscapes. Their vision influenced constitutions, governance, and national identity. Revolutionary leadership showed power of courage and unity. Colonies rose against Spain with growing determination. Battles erupted across mountains, plains, and rivers fiercely. Armies clashed with courage, strategy, and resilience constantly. Spanish forces struggled to maintain control across territories. Every skirmish weakened imperial authority and morale steadily. Guerrilla tactics challenged traditional military formations effectively. Revolutionaries disrupted supply lines and communication networks strategically. Colonial populations provided support, intelligence, and resources continuously. Every victory inspired more communities to join rebellion. Wars spread rapidly across South and Central America. Naval engagements disrupted treasure fleets and supply routes. Blockades limited reinforcements, creating pressure on Spanish troops. Foreign powers occasionally aided independence movements discreetly. Every campaign reflected struggle between empire and liberty persistently. Spanish rule faltered as revolution gained unstoppable momentum. Cities changed hands repeatedly during protracted campaigns relentlessly. Sieges tested endurance, courage, and leadership of generals. Civilian populations endured hardship, displacement, and uncertainty continuously. Victory often required negotiation as well as battlefield success. Wars reshaped political, social, and economic landscapes permanently. Collapse of authority was gradual across distant colonies. Governors abandoned posts, troops surrendered, and local councils formed. Revolutionaries established control where Spanish law once prevailed. Every province gained autonomy, challenging centuries of imperial power. Spanish Empire shrank under pressure from wars and resistance. Legacy of these wars influenced nation building and identity significantly. New governments emerged from struggle, shaped by revolutionary ideals. Independence movements demonstrated power of collective courage and vision. Spanish authority overseas ended, leaving lasting historical consequences. Revolutions transformed Americas politically, socially, and culturally permanently. By the early 19th century, colonies freed. Spanish governors surrendered, leaving power to local leaders. Revolutionaries established new governments across liberated territories confidently. Independence brought hope, justice, and national identity rapidly. Spanish rule vanished from Americas after centuries gradually. Cities celebrated with ceremonies, flags, and public gatherings. Citizens embraced new constitutions, laws, and institutions carefully. Colonial administration was replaced by republics and councils quickly. Education, trade, and politics reflected newfound autonomy consistently. Communities rebuilt governance, reflecting liberty and democratic ideals. Indigenous peoples, former slaves, and citizens gained voice. Social structures shifted to reflect changing political realities. Local economies adapted to independence and emerging trade patterns. Cultural identity strengthened as colonies reclaimed self-determination boldly. Every province established systems reflecting local priorities and traditions. Spanish armies retreated, leaving forts and towns abandoned. Former colonies defended borders and established sovereignty fiercely. Diplomacy replaced colonial command with negotiation and treaties deliberately. New nations navigated international recognition and foreign relations carefully. End of empire marked dramatic historical transformation globally. Legacy of liberation influenced future revolutions and movements widely. Ideas of freedom and republicanism spread beyond borders rapidly. Latin America reshaped politically, socially, and economically permanently. Independence forged identity, pride, and self-governance across nations. Spanish colonial power ended, leaving enduring historical memory. Independence movements gave birth to new nations, Republican ideals spread across Latin American territories rapidly. Constitutions were written to reflect liberty and equality carefully. Governments formed emphasizing rights, representation, and civic responsibility. Citizens embraced participation in shaping their own destiny. Borders were drawn, defining nations and regional identities clearly. Diplomacy established relations with Europe and neighboring countries steadily. Former colonies built institutions for law, education, and justice. Military forces protected sovereignty and national independence consistently. National flags, symbols, and rituals fostered unity and pride. Ideas of liberty influenced future social and political movements. Revolutions inspired citizens to defend freedom and justice persistently. Democracy, republicanism, and civic engagement became guiding principles. Every decision reflected lessons learned from colonial oppression directly. New nations shaped destiny without imperial interference permanently. Cultural identity strengthened alongside political independence gradually. Languages, traditions, and customs blended with revolutionary ideals. Beautiful art, literature, and music celebrated liberty and national pride. Education spread knowledge and nurtured informed, active citizens continuously. Independent nations established governance rooted in principle and vision. Economic independence became vital for sovereignty and stability steadily. Trade, agriculture, and industry expanded under national control carefully. Resource management reflected priorities of citizens rather than distant rulers. Every policy aimed to support growth and security responsibly. Republics sought prosperity alongside liberty for all inhabitants equally. Legacy endured across generations and influenced global revolutions. New nations inspired movements in Europe, Asia, and America. Ideas of freedom, justice, and rights spread widely continually. Independence reshaped global balance, challenging centuries-old imperial dominance. Spanish colonial power faded, leaving enduring democratic influence permanently. By 1898, Spain faced final colonial losses. Cuba rebelled, seeking independence from Spanish control forcefully. Puerto Rico followed, with uprisings and calls for freedom. The Philippines fought against colonial administration relentlessly and bravely. Every defeat marked the end of imperial authority. Spanish navy suffered defeats in key naval battles. Armies withdrew, abandoning posts across distant islands gradually. Treaties formalized surrender and transfer of remaining territories peacefully. National pride suffered under loss of overseas dominions permanently. Empire shrank, leaving Spain focused on European homeland exclusively. Economic repercussions followed the loss of colonies steadily. Trade, resources, and revenue streams were suddenly disrupted. Spain faced financial strain and political reassessment immediately. Every colony lost reflected decades of ambition and power. Historical prestige was challenged by modern realities and circumstances. Cuban independence inspired other territories and global observers widely. Philippine struggle highlighted challenges of distant imperial administration. Puerto Rican transition influenced relationship with Spain and United States. Loss of colonies signaled a turning point for Spain. Empires changed, and Spain entered a new era historically. Legacy of 1898 loss shaped national consciousness deeply. Cultural memory mourned the end of overseas authority. Spain reflected on centuries of exploration, conquest, and governance. Lessons of administration, overreach, and decline remained vivid clearly. History recorded final chapter of Spain's colonial empire permanently. Spain adjusted from empire to modern nation. Political reforms aimed to stabilize governance internally carefully. Economic policies shifted to focus on domestic growth. Industries developed, and infrastructure modernized across cities steadily. Government balanced tradition with pressures of modern society cautiously. Constitutional changes strengthened institutions and citizen representation deliberately. Political parties emerged, competing for power and influence. Social reforms addressed inequality, labor, and education demands persistently. New economic models replaced dependency on colonial wealth efficiently. Spain sought integration into European networks and markets strategically. National identity evolved, reflecting modern realities and historical memory. Loss of empire encouraged focus on internal cohesion consistently. Government invested in transportation, communication, and urban planning steadily. Urbanization and industry reshaped cities and population distribution rapidly. Political debates shaped nations' future direction and policies careful. Military restructuring aligned with defense of national borders effectively. Old colonial armies transitioned to modern professional forces gradually. Strategic planning prioritized homeland security, overseas ambitions consistently. Spain learned lessons of overreach, administration, and research. Nation-state identity replaced imperial authority across population and territory. Cultural and economic modernization proceeded alongside political transformation steadily. Education, science, and commerce supported Spain's domestic ambitions fully. Every reform aimed to strengthen stability, grow. Government faced challenges balancing tradition, progress, and public opinion. Transition reflected resilience, adaptation, and lessons of past experience clearly. Legacy of transition influenced Spain's role in Europe permanently. Nation rebuilt identity while preserving historical memory and pride. Political and economic adjustments laid foundation for modern state. Spain emerged focused, reorganized, and forward-looking as a country. History recorded transformation from empire to nation confidently and clearly. Spain experienced a cultural revival across generations. Artists, writers, and architects celebrated national history creatively. Restoration of cathedrals and palaces honored past grandeur faithfully. Museums preserved treasures of exploration, conquest, and art carefully. Every building and artwork reflected centuries of pride vividly. Literature flourished, capturing history, identity, and social change. Poets and novelists explored past, present, and future perspectives. Artistic movements embraced tradition while experimenting with new styles. Cultural institutions promoted education, heritage, and creative expression. Every effort aimed to connect citizens with shared heritage. Music blended classical, regional, and contemporary influences harmoniously. Festivals celebrated historical achievements, arts, and communal pride. Theatre staged plays reflecting Spain's history and society. Cultural renaissance reinforced identity, unity, and collective memory. Preservation ensured continuity of legacy across generations consistently. Historical research documented empire, exploration, and influential figures. Archives maintained manuscripts, letters, and important colonial records. Scholars analyzed architecture, literature, and fine arts systematically. Education emphasized understanding Spain's past and cultural contribution. Every initiative strengthened national identity through knowledge and pride. Public spaces reflected Renaissance and architectural conservation actively. Streets, plazas, and monuments honored Spanish history visually. Tourism benefited from preservation, promoting pride and economy. Every restoration balanced authenticity with accessibility for citizens. Cultural heritage became cornerstone of Spain's modern identity permanently. Legacy of Renaissance inspired creativity and historical awareness widely. Art, literature, and music preserved Spain's cultural memory. Every generation inherited pride, knowledge, and creative inspiration. Preservation connected modern Spain with centuries of rich history. History remembers cultural renaissance as revival of national spirit. Former colonies shaped Spain's global connections deeply. Trade continued with Latin America, despite independence and distance. Cultural exchange influenced art, literature, and education consistently. Migration fostered links between Spain and overseas communities steadily. Spanish language spread globally, maintaining ties across continents strongly. Economic partnerships emerged in agriculture, mining, and commerce gradually. Former colonies became markets for Spanish goods and products. Investment flowed both ways, strengthening economic interdependence carefully. Business networks connected cities, ports, and international markets efficiently. Global influence adapted from imperial to cooperative relationships strategically. Cultural traditions traveled back to Spain with immigrant cuisine, music, and festivals reflected shared history and heritage. Colonial art, crafts, and knowledge influenced modern Spanish society. Every connection strengthened Spain's identity and global cultural presence. Diplomatic relations evolved, shaped by history and mutual interests consistently. Education and academic exchange promoted international collaboration continuously. Universities collaborated with former colonial nations on research projects. Language programs reinforced communication, understanding, and shared scholarship steadily. Every student, teacher, and scholar contributed. Knowledge and culture bridged distances across former imperial domains permanently. Legacy of former colonies shaped Spain's modern worldview clearly. Global networks reflected historical ties and contemporary cooperation equally. Every relationship balanced pride, memory, and practical engagement. Spain remained connected internationally despite loss of territorial empire. Influence of colonies endures in commerce, culture, and diplomacy forever. Spain reflects on centuries of imperial grandeur thoughtfully. From exploration to conquest, power once shaped nations. Territories spanned oceans, cultures, and diverse peoples extensively. Influence reached Europe, Americas, Africa, and Asia persistently. Every achievement carried pride, ambition, and lasting legacy. Historians analyze victories, failures, and societal impact carefully. Conquests brought wealth, culture, and complex human consequences. Empires' rise and fall taught lessons of governance clearly. National identity intertwined with memory of past authority strongly. Spain honors history while embracing modern societal realities steadily. Art, architecture, and literature preserve imperial heritage permanently. Monuments, museums, and archives showcase achievements and struggles vividly. Cultural identity reflects continuity, adaptation, and resilience creatively. Every citizen inherits connection to Spain's historic narrative consists. Historical reflection informs decisions, pride, and collective consciousness continually. Loss of colonies reshaped national focus and ambition strategically. Modern Spain balances history with contemporary global roles responsibly. Lessons of empire guide policy, education, and international reality. Reflection fosters understanding of power, responsibility, and human limits. Legacy endures in memory, culture, and global perception permanently. Spain's identity remains complex, layered, and historically significant. Empires rise and fall, yet shadows linger timelessly. Reflection honors achievement, acknowledges mistakes, and inspires progress. Every era contributes to understanding Spain's evolving place clearly. History remembers Spain as once dominant, resilient, and influential forever. Spain's empire shaped language, culture, and religion globally. Influence spread across continents, enduring through centuries continuously. Colonial legacies remain visible in traditions, society, and law. People speak, write, and celebrate with Spanish heritage proudly. Every region shows traces of empire's lasting impact clearly. Architectural marvels stand as monuments to ambition persistently. Palaces, cathedrals, and plazas inspire awe and admiration. Artistic achievements reflect creativity, skill, and historical pride. Painting, sculpture, and literature capture grandeur and legacy beautifully. Global visitors marvel at Spain's cultural contributions continually. Expansion brought lessons about power, ambition, and consequences. Conquest yielded wealth, influence, but also human suffering. Every campaign shaped history while leaving complex moral questions. Legacy teaches balance between aspiration and responsibility carefully. History remembers both triumphs and the costs of ambition vividly. Power contrasts sharply with human sacrifice and suffering. Empires relied on control, labor, and social hierarchies consistently. Lives were shaped, constrained, and sometimes destroyed by authority. Every achievement carried consequences for people and society clearly. Reflection shows human course intertwined with historical grandeur inevitably. Empires rise, fall, yet influence echoes across generations. Memory of Spain endures in culture, knowledge, and language. Lessons of ambition, conquest, and resilience inform modern understanding. History reminds us power is temporary, yet legacy persists. Fade out with echoes of empires shadow gracefully.